Hello, it's Nikki. Sorry for this very weird angle, by the way. Our internet is not working, and so we've had to move stuff around. So I've just kind of propped my phone up against a Duplo box. So that's what we're doing today. Anyway, today I want to talk about, how shall I say it? Because I don't want the title to put you off of thinking, oh my goodness, do I need an agent? What does this mean? What's it all about? I'm talking about agents, but what I'm really talking about is strategy. And really being clear about where you want to go next. And I have heard that audio, that reel by Mel Robbins, where people say like, nobody's coming. And I really, even though I don't want to, because I would love to have that sense of like, somebody's always looking out for me. I've realized running my own gig, and I knew this before really, but you have to be proactive and you have to be really clear and discerning about what it is that you want. Because otherwise, if you're not, everything starts to feel a bit vague or samey or a bit dissatisfactory. And this has been a mindset shift that I've really had to work on over the years, because when I first graduated as an actor, I mean, I was lucky because I had an agent and I had 2 jobs back to back, all off the back of this West End Showcase situation. I knew that beyond those moments, I very much took that attitude of like, as long as I'm working or as long as I feel creative, I'm all right with that. Like, I'm just lucky to be in the room. I felt so lucky just to be in the room for so many years. And the bizarre thing is that I actually trained to do that thing. So if you had gone to accounting school and you'd left and you'd got your degree and you'd got your exams and you'd passed and all that good stuff, you would not have had that attitude of, I'm just grateful to be in the room. Like, oh, it doesn't even matter if you don't pay me. I'm just grateful to be in the room. And that is not helpful as a response or as an attitude, because what can happen is if you go in with that energy of like, I'm just grateful to be there, people just sort of, they pick up on that. They know and understand that energy of that, like, they're just grateful to be here. So we won't pay them, but they're just happy to stick around. So we don't really need to do their scenes now because they've got nowhere to go. They're easy breezy. And over the last 20 years, I've had an agent, and I've had many agents, actually, not many, less than 10, but more than 5. And some have been really successful relationships, and others haven't worked out so well. And not in a sort of controversial, like, I phoned my agent and they said this. Usually it's been the energy's not been quite right, if that doesn't sound too lovey. But maybe what we both wanted to get out of it was different. Let's just say that. Or we had different ways of doing things. For example, I had one agent who didn't really want to pay her actors. That relationship was never going to last long term, because that's the whole point of working with somebody who's going to take care of your money and take care of you. Then, when I trained as a coach a decade ago, I was actually working part-time as an agent, and this was a sort of out-of-work acting job. But you know what? It was really valuable in terms of seeing that other side of working and, I guess, negotiating for and managing talent. And I want to share some of those things for you today, because I know loads of you want to grow your personal brand. I know you want to do some great things this year, next year, and maybe you're sitting on the sideline right now and going, that's annoying. That person is, why have they booked that person again? Or why has that happened? Or it always seems like the same people, or all the rest of it. Maybe that's you. Maybe you're feeling a bit frustrated. Maybe you know you're really good at what you're doing, but you just need a bit of a help to open the door. And today I want to give you a few of those keys, essentially. So I'm going to give you my perspective from an actor speaker point of view. and a podcast guest and a podcast host, but also there'll be a bit of agent stuff in there. So I was an agent for 5 years, and we represented so many, and the agency is still going and thriving, but we represented clients across television and film and commercial and theatre. And it was really fascinating to see how quickly some of those journeys paced up rather, and how people's lives changed. Because if you haven't thought already, I'm going to tell you right now that it's all there waiting for you, and you can choose to go and get it, because it is there. And people are looking for you, and they want your unique perspective, and they are looking for talent. People are always looking for talent. And even though in the pandemic, people didn't really, I'm not going to get too political, but there wasn't a sense of care, I don't think necessarily, by our government for musicians or for actors. But yet, what was everybody doing in the pandemic? They were sitting at home and they were watching telly and box sets and listening to music, and being involved in, I was going to say indulging. That's not indulging. It's like one of my favorite things to do, but really getting involved and invested in those dramas. And so today I've got 7 things that I want to share with you. So hopefully some will be useful. Do grab a pen and paper, and let's get into it. Okay, number 1, it's really important to remember that you have to, I urge you to constantly hone your craft. And there suddenly can be an ego situation sometimes in these spaces, or if I've worked with somebody who is a name but they don't know their lines, there's a mismatch there, and you're always going to get caught out. And for you personally, it's really important to have those standards of knowing when you are at your best. And you get to that place by doing it, by flipping things around, by always looking at your craft, your talent, your ability, your content, and being willing to analyze it and to see what's working and to notice where you need to go next. We've all been to those talks, and I'm sure that we've seen them where there's some, I'm going to use self-development authors, they're still talking about the same topics that they were 10 years ago, and they're regurgitating the same talk. Now, I'm sure that that talk works, and maybe there's a story in there that they need to keep in there, because they're not going to just change a piece of their life because that might be lying. But what I'm talking about is when you get stale, or when you get stuck, or you feel too safe, you feel a bit comfy, a bit cozy. And actually, if you want to be at the top of your game, you need to have that edge. You need to have that sense when you go into a room that you've been working on stuff behind the scenes. Or there's always that thing when directors will say to you as an actor, what have you been working on recently? And I know so many actors fear this sense of, well, I haven't been doing anything. I haven't been doing anything because the theatres are being closed. But go in with conversation. So if that is you in terms of your speaking, and you're just starting out and you're like, but I haven't spoken on a stage before, and I really hope that this goes well. Talk about what inspires you. Talk about why you do what you do, and really go in with those kind of conversations and be an interesting person. Number 2, be ready for your lucky break. I wrote a book on this very topic. I think sometimes, well, first and foremost, I'm going to say there's not just one lucky break. And I think reality TV shows have done this for us, where they build up this sense of like, this is my only chance. This is my dream, Simon. This is my last chance. Please, please, please. I disagree. I feel like, well, it's like with a house or a festival or anything like that. There's not just one entrance. You can go round the back, up the side, down the corridor, wherever it might be. But you can find a way, and there will be opportunities coming again and again. Really be willing to be in that abundant mindset that the next opportunity is around the corner. But also, you have to get ready now. You have to get ready for your lucky break right now and not wait until we assume that it's going to come along. You have to get things busy. You have to get things ready. It's almost like if you were hosting a dinner party. Yes, of course, you could leave the food and the cleaning and the whatever else until your guests arrived. But personally, I'd like to get stuff sorted and not have breakfast stuff out, which I can see over there. Or like, I want to have things in place. If you can do that in terms of your career, it's going to bring a different energy. It's going to bring a sense of, I'm ready. Anytime you need me, you want me, I need to do X, Y, and Z, I'm ready. It's a really refreshing, exciting mindset to be in. Number 3, you have to know what you want. Number 3, you have to know what you want. Or you don't, I guess. Some people might be like, I'll just see what happens. But from my experience, if you are in that mindset of just seeing what happens, it's probably going to take longer. It's the old analogy of the sat nav. If you're like, oh, we won't put a postcode in, we'll just see if we can get there. You might take some wrong turns along the way, or you might end up round a roundabout where you're like, why am I here? How did we get here? I feel like we've lost focus. What am I going to do? Etc. So this is about being really clear and being really specific, because being vague is not helpful. I think being specific and being direct and not rude, probably, obviously, are really great qualities, and ones that I think many of us look for, especially in adult life, that we want to be with people who are going to say what they're doing. And I know many of us in our 20s, we might have chased people who were like, gosh, he's so unpredictable. Like, I don't even know when he's going to call me next. And then it gets to a point in your, well, probably later into your 20s or earlier, if you've sussed it earlier, where you really want to know that people are going to do what they say that they're going to do. So if you're saying, I just want to be a speaker, I just want to get my message out there, I just want to grow my brand, brilliant, but that is very much stage 1. What I want you to do now is to go deeper. What does growing your brand look like to you? Where do you want to speak? How can I support you, for example? What do you want to talk about? Who would really benefit from your message? There are so many questions around that. So don't just sort of do this surface sort of like gentle wiping. You've got to get like under the surface of like, what is this? Why? And ask yourself more questions, essentially. Number 4, you have to be willing to sit tight and do the work. So I've seen this a lot. I've been an actor for a very long time, and I've been a speaker, really long time as well. And it's a really interesting conversation, because I feel like those 2 jobs are things that people quite fancy doing, or they might seem easy on the outside, or fun, or it's all right for you because you don't have a real job, etc. But it is great when you are working, but there are many, many hours, days, weeks, months, years when you're not, when you're having to sit tight and trust and sit with the rejection and pull yourself back together. And this is not a sob story, but equally doing the thing or getting booked is only part of the story. And what most people don't want to do is to be in the whole world of, oh, I'm not going to enjoy that as much then if I have to like go to several auditions where I'm going to get rejected, or I don't want to spend that time like honing my talk and going over it. And there's something, I guess, about getting to 40 that I book lots of jobs now because I've done my years, as I mentioned, of being happy to sit tight. Not happy is quite an extreme word, but I've sat tight and I've been patient and I've done the work, and I've received harsh criticism sometimes, or advice, or I've heard stuff that I didn't want to hear. But yet I went back and I gave it another go, and I took my time, and yeah, I'm basically still in it. I've clung on. And I think that's really important, that you may set goals that you think, right, this is my year where I want to do it. Well, what if it takes 14 months? What if it takes 18 months? What if it takes 2 years? And actually this first year is just about setting you up. Are you willing to give it that time, that container? Or are you going to start getting really negative really quickly of like, it's not happening quick enough, I want it now, let's go? Or are you going to be cool and calm and be happy to sit tight? The next thing I want to talk about is use every opportunity that you have to make it real. We hear this from comedians, don't we, where they go to a quiet rundown pub maybe, and they go and showcase their new material. They try things out. They get themselves back to that beginner's point. And I think sometimes the temptation is, well, I'll do it when I can. I'll do it when I get the opportunity. And I have taught, I was teaching singing in this school for a little bit, and voice work. And so many of the artists rarely wanted to sing. And they were like, oh, I'm just feeling a bit under the weather today. Oh, I don't feel like my piece is perfect yet, so I don't want to show it yet. And my argument was always like, not like, do you know who I am? But at that stage, I was knowing a lot of the people who were potential employers to these singers. And I could have quite easily been in a situation where I would have heard somebody sing something and then been on the phone to a mate and go, God, you know what? I saw this girl today and she was amazing. I think you should see her. Like, she's still training, but she's got an incredible range. Or like, she's like, I sound like Louis Walsh. She's a young da-da-da-da-da. And so use every opportunity to lift your stuff off the page. Whether that is your speaking, whether that is you practicing your elevator pitch in your house, whether that's asking your partner to pretend that they're interviewing you for a job, or doing it sounds weird that we do this all the time, but you know, that's why actors are kind of taken into all those corporate environments to role play. Like, what are you going to do? How are you going to have those awkward conversations? Do them in a safe place with friends and family. I've had to read so many scripts with friends, and they're not actors, but they've been great and they've helped me to get the job. Number 6, I think we are up to. Show people, don't just tell them. Get creative. This is going to be really key. Especially because many people can talk the talk and walk the walk and say like, yeah, they can be enthusiastic at a party after a couple of wines. Like, yeah, I could do that. Yeah, you should book me. You should hire me. But what's going to make you stand out? How can you show people what you do rather than tell them? And this may be you getting creative and pulling out a camera or your phone and actually recording your talk and sending it to people. This might be, this essentially is the start before you are ready type vibe. We all think that just saying it will be enough, but always go back to being practical. How can you show people? Finally, I would love you to be specific on your USP. And there is those adverts with M&S, they will always say that this is not just a whatever, this is a M&S version of this. And that's how you have to think of your personal brand and what you bring to the table. And we used to do this, as agents with actors, that we didn't want to just say that somebody had brunette hair and was 25. It's like, no, what else do they bring? What is their point of view? What's their energy? What's their vibe? What's their experience? What's their story? What's their unique perspective? How do they talk? How do they walk? How do they dress? Like, there's so many things in that will help you to build your personal brand and bring you to that point where you really stand out and you become memorable. And I know sometimes there's that slight anxiousness of like, oh yeah, but I don't want to become typecast, or I don't want to just do one thing, or want to keep mixing it up. Absolutely, you can mix it up, but just start with something and know where you are today. Know where you are right now. And certainly your USP will grow with you as you get older, as you change, as you develop, as you become more experienced. You'll be able to just almost blow all of that up and take up more space like a balloon. So I hope those things have been helpful. If you are interested in speaking up, I have an amazing offer for you until the end of November. I would love you to come and find out more. You can go to nikkiraby.com/offers. And as part of this Speak Up program, you get a full online course, plus you get a 45-minute session with me. But until the end of the November, I'm going to be working with you personally beyond that as well, as a free bonus, so you actually do the things that you want to do. So if you could really do with another perspective, somebody who's worked as an agent, somebody who has built a career on singing, on acting, on not singing, speaking, on acting, and I am actually doing all of these things, I can help you to do the same, or your version, whatever that might be. All right, I'm going to leave it there. Thank you so much for watching, for listening, and I'm sending lots of love.